My goodness. And just like that, I think we are live. It is Wednesday night, 9 o'clock on the East. Let's just get started. Kodi, what is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, AKA Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. Of course, the show gets repackaged tomorrow, wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 784, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing on this August summer night?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. Oh, the summer nights. We love them.
We do love them, exactly. Diego, my husband's on the rooftop enjoying
Oh,
this time watching us, so that's cool too. We're in front of a
hi,
live virtual
Diego.
audience, but I think we should just bring up our special guest and get into it
Let's
because
go.
he's waiting in the wings. Hello, Dan Werner. How are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good. Let me just introduce you really quick. Dan Werner is a therapist in training, specializing in LGBTQ plus clients, relationships, intimacy, and attachment, including consensual non-monogamy, so stuff like open relationships and polyamory, addiction, sex and substance, and kink. And his approach is trauma informed and blends somatic approaches with talk therapy with a focus on helping clients reconnect authentically with themselves and then with those in their lives. We'll get into more on all of that. Welcome, Dan, again to the show. And
Welcome.
yes, exactly. Um, you sent us a video of that kind of encapsulated your story that I found very engaging, and I couldn't help but relate to your story. You went to UC Berkeley on scholarship for water polo. I went to UC Berkeley as well on partial scholarship a little bit earlier than you did, showing my age here, but for gymnastics and in the late 90s. And I related to something that you said because you in your documentation in this video, you talk about how you had a tough growing up with a lot of illnesses and feeling like an outsider. You talk about your family and being the middle child. And then you really excelled not only in sports, but in school. And then you get this scholarship, water polo, which is amazing, first division. And you quote a very famous book, and that's where I would love to start. Alan Downs, his book, The Velvet Rage, where he says, "We survived by learning to conform to the expectations of others at a time in our development when we should have been learning to follow our internal promptings." I totally related to that because as a athlete at UC Berkeley, when I wasn't out, I played the game and did well and thrived, but I had this secret. What did you mean by that? And what do many of us gay men go through and you've noticed in your practice?
Yeah, no, thanks for all of that, and I love starting it here. And especially, I'm sure living in New York, you see some very high functioning gay men. They got a job, they have the looks, they have the style, really charismatic. Um, I really believe that while that is so amazing and engaging, it also could be a protective strategy and cover for, a time when you didn't feel so alive or strong or aware of yourself. A quick little story, someone was sharing with me, a straight person who visited my kind of chosen family, people I knew in kind of Fire Island, and their takeaway was nobody in that group of gay queer men talked at all about like where they were from or what they were like. It was all like what they were doing. It was all like what they were doing now in the city. Oh, I'm a designer. I'm doing this. Oh, I got this job. Or oh, this drama and this boy. No one talked about where they're from. And I
Mhm.
think that I've tracked that. I really don't, unless you really go deep, really kind of talk about what was it like when you were growing up. I don't go there that often unless it's really real,
Yeah.
with some friends. So, anyways, I think that there is a lot of resilience, strength, but also kind of some pain in running away, especially when a lot of gay men congregate in, San Francisco, New York City, Los Angeles. Um, and for me, that internal clock with Alan Downs, um, I really learned to comply and follow rules based on kind of my family of origin, where we were from. It was the 90s, Protestant Christian environment, and even that team sport. Like, you kind of put your head down and did the thing.
Yeah.
And I thought I was excelling, but when it came to other things, I really didn't know, like, even where I wanted to go to dinner or how I wanted to dress. I was always conforming to the groups. So that kind of caught up with me, not in a bad way, but in awareness. I'm like, oh, I was this nice Christian boy in the Central Valley, which is like the south of California. Oh, and now I'm this really preppy, worked out, tan gay guy in a city. Oh, and now I'm in this other environment where I'm like a new aged hippie living in a California mountain town. Like, and I've tracked that. I was like, whoa, what's actually core to you? What's authentic? And I think a lot of people kind of don't know unless they really have space.
Yeah, it's funny
Wow.
because my dad used to say I would be really good in the military, and I think a lot of us that are pushed so much of who we are down could have been good in the military because you just follow one trajectory and you don't really tap into who you really are, and so I liken it to that. But Kodi, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious because I feel like that's the story of a lot of gay men out there. Do you feel like we have similar, like, what are we searching for when, as gay men, when we're growing up? I feel like we all have similar stories about what we're about trying to hide certain aspects of ourselves, but what is similar in all of us that is having us reach for this trauma and try and hide and discover ourselves constantly?
You know, I don't know, like, as a monolith, I think there's common patterns.
Yeah.
I can say even Alan Downs' book has been criticized from a class and race perspective. His practice was predominantly wealthy white men in WeHo and I believe Santa Fe, New Mexico. Um, but I do think that there is a lot of family not accepting one, and
Hmm.
really early, like I knew I liked other boys and I was different by like fourth grade. That's only 8, and I've heard other people say it was even younger. And some families are more accepting than others, but I think some very early kind of family of origin kind of othering, even though they might be with you, feed you, clothe you. I do think chasing a lot of that.
Hmm.
And then also, I also think when it gets to kind of adolescence and other things, like it's a delayed adolescence. Like, I went to prom, but I didn't have the like hot prom night where I got to, like maybe go to a party and have sex with my prom date. So I do think also the delayed adolescence and sexual awakening all comes at a different later stage. And I can say about myself, I came out at 20, but I like lived a very repressed 20s. College boyfriend, I had a Bert and Ernie relationship. We like ate cookies in bed, but there was no sex going on. Then I was 30 and I like was like, I'm in New York City. I'm young. I'm hot. I like am really, really pent it up. It's not happening here. The apps are going, prep is going. And not only like coming out at 20, but then waiting till 30, 31, I came out of that closet, that sexual closet, like guns blazing. So there was a over identification with muscle, sex, charisma, all of that. Then these magic pills called like MDMA, which give you even more of a heart opener, more of an ability to like talk and feel. it was both very therapeutic taking that substance, and I think it's very helpful therapeutically, and it also can really like ramp people up, especially in nightlife scene in New York City or other places. I think New York City has other cities kind of pegged on the nightlife scene too.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about on the show how, as gay men, many of us didn't really come out, really, and there's this timeline where we were jamming it all in. For you, it was your 30s. For me, it was still my 20s, but then that's why a lot of us, we were giving advice the other day on the show on somebody who was coming into their 40s, and they're like, what is my 40s going to look like? I haven't met anybody. And we said, first of all, be kind to yourself. And many of us gay men have a longer trajectory on when we really figure out who we are, because we weren't allowed to for various reasons. Protestant, I was a Catholic. There's many reasons. But you have a really particular story that happened to you in the pandemic in 2020. I mentioned pandemic, but you lived somewhere in the East Coast here with how many gay men, a straight couple, some dogs,
Yeah,
and a partridge in a pear tree. Can you
yeah. I wrote.
explain that? Because it's really how you, at least in the video, describe how
Yeah,
you got into this work that you're in now.
yeah. I was living in Brooklyn when pandemic hit, and I was part of a group that would often go up to a country home in Connecticut, where there was some, older kind of gay couple. And that became the pod for me. Not just that pod hung out, but I had quarantined with 11 gay men, a straight couple, a newborn baby, and 5 dogs.
How big
And
was this house?
Yeah, I
there were
know,
2
right?
houses. It was more of like an estate or a
Oh,
compound.
You
okay.
did say
Yeah,
Connecticut,
Okay,
and
all
I
yeah,
was
right.
like,
yeah.
yeah, okay,
A
yeah, I have a
newborn
No,
baby.
really, yeah.
feeling.
And so much happened there. It really informed me, really then wanting to become a therapist. But to answer your question, um, it really showed me firsthand, when you spend a weekend with someone in Fire Island House or Lake House or outside or whatever, you get a little bit. But when you're with people day in and day out, especially when the world is falling apart, you get a front row seat into like a lot of people's stuff. Um, 3 of the relationships ended. 2 of the dogs died. There was a
Oh
lot
my God.
of
Oh,
things that happened. It really showed me basically how like minority stress comes up, people's ability to navigate their nervous system, be able to communicate non-violently and kindly. Just a lot. And kind of talking about that Protestant versus Catholic or other aspects that influence you, and that gay man in his 40s, it also gave me more awareness and compassion. I didn't have it at the time, but for gay men also from different like cultures and religions. And I knew like I'd work in nonprofit LGBT stuff. I knew about this, but I had so much judgment for a South Asian man, like a person of like Indian, Pakistani descent, who really wasn't out of the closet yet to his mother. And he was probably in his like late 30s, early 40s. And I was like, man, we're all out and like, oh, he's got to cut the umbilical cord. I so much internalized homophobia. Fast forward, I'm now more aware after doing like yoga and understanding Eastern philosophy. Like for some cultures, like the mother and the family is like the spiritual house, like not going to church and leaving, like, and in hindsight, this really made me think about just how everybody's individual coming out is. Fast forward, I saw this repressed gay man at Dory Alley, which is like the precursor to Folsom Street Fair,
yes.
a few
The
weeks
one that's a
ago.
little bit more down and dirty and fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
So he's
I just
fully
love
evolved
dancing.
now, is kind of what you're
What was that?
saying. He's more the same guy you saw. The one is now was that you saw at Dory Alley.
Yeah, and he approached me and said that time was so impactful for him, and he saw me with only positivity. He goes, "That time unlocked so much for me." And it's so interesting too how people experience events. So for me at that time, I had so much judgment towards him. It took me a while later to find compassion for him. But him leaving the pandemic, he only recognized me as, oh my gosh, being around so many gay men really allowed me to start, breaking out of some of my challenges and identity complexes.
Yeah.
I could talk.
That's
We could stay here for hour. I could talk about that 11 gay men. Yeah, but I want to
we
let you
could,
speak.
yeah, and we have somebody that mentioned something related to it. We can read it in a minute, but Kodi, did you want to say something before that?
No, I was just so curious, and it's just so amazing that, like, the both of you coming up against each other's, like, boundaries or, parts of each other that you didn't really necessarily vibe with, and how that expanded your both of your points of views on different aspects of life, so I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Bryce
And
watching us. Yeah, go ahead.
the
Sorry.
person then would have never thought I would have been like, oh, that guy and me. So I just love how life does that.
Yeah.
Bryce watching us live says, I have learned the hard way not to be transparent about my past or my story of resilience because some gay men interpret it as victimhood. You use it as an opportunity to compete over the varying intensity of our traumas or see me as having too much baggage to be fun or dateable. Is there no beauty left in authenticity? Hmm. That's an interesting one. What would
Yeah.
you say to that?
Yeah, that is. I also had a benefit. This was before and during the pandemic of being in relationship, like intimate partner relationship with someone that was in the 12-step community and was sober. And he would mention how sometimes in meetings, some meetings were harder than others when folks kind of tried to one up each other on just how bad it got. Like how, no,
Mhm.
my rock bottom was worse. But that's one person's perspective. I know that some people hear folks' hardships and it gives voice and it gives normalization. But then for another person, that might be, oh, they're sharing too much or they have too much baggage. So it's tough. It's tough. There is a quote that therapists use amongst themselves, which is, "You can only take someone as far as you've gone on your own."
Mm.
And I think
That's
that might fit with this. I'm sorry, I forgot their name, but
Bryce, yes. Yeah.
so yeah, for at you, Bryce, like maybe for those folks judging, like that might not they might not be able to hold that. I find that I have more compassion and ability to meet so many other people when I've really processed my own stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Which kind of brings us into some of the things you work with clients on, in addition to relationships, intimacy, attachment. You also work with clients on non-consensual non-monogamy, so like open relationships, polyamory, addiction, and kink.
Mhm.
These are things I've, experimented in. I talk a lot about on this show in the BDSM community. I ran from Mr. Eagle. I'm currently in a marriage. We play at times, but we've had to track how that looks and how it's changed in our marriage, and it has changed, and we have to check in with that all the time.
Mhm.
We just had a guest on recently talking openly about polyamory, Oleg Kodi, who
Yeah.
Mhm.
has several boyfriends and doing it really well, I think. And or you mentioned that, unless you've dealt with this, have you dealt with a lot of these issues yourself in your relationships? And as gay men, there's layers to when you are fully involved in your sexuality. We're very layered in many various ways. And as a
Mhm.
therapist, I can only imagine there's a lot you have to be prepared for.
Yeah. And even the same thing, like you have to really untangle like the why behind it, you know?
Mhm.
I did some more. I looked in. There's actually now research on consensual non-monogamy within like uh, therapy space, like studying it psychologically and clinically. There's even a researcher and the APA, APA, the American Association of. I'm already botching it, but the APA has a task force on consensual non-monogamy, which is fascinating. But different and different folks could get into it for different reasons. And really uncovering and finding out the why behind it is very relevant. So I don't know how much you know of like attachment styles, but like a person that is secure in an attachment, they know how to give and receive love and affection. If they don't get a text back, they won't freak out. They can like kind of be like stable in their own security, their own sense of self, and then that makes them secure in relationship with their primary partner, like their primary person. And there also are folks, and many folks have insecure attachment, and that's not like, oh, you need to fix it and deal with it, but everybody wants love. People that are insecurely attached, that might be the person like, oh, they haven't texted me back right away, or OMG, I'm in an open relationship and he's gone after midnight. Now I'm ruminating and checking his location and all that. And then there's avoidant people who they want love too, but as a defense mechanism will push away and will avoid and even stonewall, like silent treatment. So with all those, there's so many different mixes there of relationships. So if someone's is in polyamorous or is in an open relationship, I myself, I have tendencies to be more avoidant, and it's really easier for me to be, oh, I'm having problems with my boyfriend. I don't want to have sex with him. I could go on the apps easy, or I could do whatever in Fire Island. So that sexual impulse or that sexual behavior is actually not the most aligned to kind of my higher self. What's better for me is to address the avoidance, have an authentic, harder conversation, which is harder for an avoidant, and name that. And usually the intimacy in sex is way better when you have that repair, that kind of like makeup intimacy or makeup sex. So anyways, it could look so many different ways in how people use or navigate an open relationship or a polyamorous framework.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
That's so interesting. As somebody who I feel like I am a little bit avoidant, like, but I feel, how do you really even navigate those things being an avoidant person? I'm speaking for myself. This is now my therapy station. You can log off, Steve, if you want to.
Sorry, we're live.
Is the question, how do I avoid that example? Like kind of go for
or how do I navigate that? Because you said it's not something to be fixed. So how do I make myself more secure? I don't know if that's
no. Thanks for that question. And that part about not try to fix doesn't mean like you can't change, but it is kind of that like, oh geez, I just got an assessment and I'm really off the charts on being anxiously attached or an avoidance style. It's kind of both holding, and there's a type of therapy modality called this, where you both hold with compassion, like where you're at, acceptance, as well as, like movement to change. So for me, and for this example, it's really, I know for me, it's better for me to work on myself because I avoid so much, even just in my personal life. I avoid making my home a place where I like want to like be, because I'd rather go out and distract myself. Or I avoid all types of difficult conversations with bosses, friends, all of that. So working on my own avoidance, even outside of my intimate partner relationship, is really healthy, and it helps my avoidance across all other domains of life.
I see.
Yeah, so and that's something. And also knowing the attachment styles of the partner that you're with. So, to avoidance or an avoidant or an anxious one, and
Yeah.
actually name those things, and not, oh, I'm anxious, but hey, some of the it's called externalizing, like some of the avoidant things are coming up for me right now, and I just
Hmm.
want you to know, but I love you and I want us to be close, all that. Similar, like with depression. Hey, not I'm depressed and I'm the depressive person, saying I'm going through a stage of depressive symptoms right now, or I'm going through like a depressive episode right now. Just to let you know that's kind of happening with me. So then there's just more like communication on like what you're dealing with, but you're not saying like, I am this.
Okay, I see that. Detach yourself from the whole being that thing, and actually try and you know, uh, uh, address it basically.
Yeah, and in a way, I think I kind of was convoluted in it a bit, but yeah, it's called like kind of like externalizing. I know in other conversations earlier, we've kind of gotten into like, hey, what's the therapeutic effects of like MDMA and things like that. So like when people, oftentimes when people are like really like medically resistant to depression, like they're really not getting better, sometimes MDMA assisted therapy lets them separate from, even ketamine, separate from, oh my gosh, for that moment, I wasn't that really depressed thing I always am. There's a different version of how to be. So you're able to externalize the thing that you think is, really like weighing you down. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We wanted to give you some advice from that we got from a Reddit that we think you would give some really good advice. But before we do that, when you talk about your method and how you work with people, I know you talk a lot about the nervous system. You've done a lot of yoga and really being present. I know you live in a certain part of California that's more remote. You used to live in the city. How important is that on the method that you bring to your work, on just getting in touch with yourself, that you impart to your clients? And how is that meant for you?
Yeah. So, um, and it's my own story. I did go from, really like hyper stimulated, very busy at work, then get off work, go to the gym, weekend comes, go to the parties, Sunday, go to the next thing, and then, holy geez, I don't even have time for Sunday scaries, wake up, go to work again. So for me, the pandemic and retreating was what allowed me to settle. I know so many folks, they do that in the cities where they are in, and you don't have to be super wealthy to be able to have to like go to retreats around the world. They're just like common, easy practices around doing, maybe touching your breath, breathing, just feeling it go in and out. That brings you in the present moment. I myself have benefited from a few specific things in the last few years. Um, in addition to yoga, I went and saw a Rolfer. There's a bodywork technique called
Yes,
Rolfing
it's intense,
it's
but yes.
intense. It works on the fascial system. So fascia is it binds all your muscles together. On a chicken breast, you might notice this weird kind of slimy skin that keeps the chicken breast all together. We have all of that across our body. That gets locked up and tight with emotions, and it works also on other areas. It also brought awareness to parts of my body that I didn't even know I kind of had lost track of. I'll tell you, I always was jealous of my bottom friends that were like, I know I'm ready. I'm like, how do you know you're ready? Like I did not have the awareness of like down there. So
Yeah.
like literally having a Rolfer touch me in my perineum and doing things, I was like, oh wow, this is bringing more. I can now, and yoga, you do things with your pelvic
Yeah.
floor. All of that brought me awareness. I think it goes as far as shame with potty training to
Oh,
shame with bottoming. I am so versed. I love all of it. I get top cast because I'm 6'3" and like have this mustache
I could,
70
yeah.
star thing. Yeah. But um, but I now have a different awareness down there, and it really what I also was get at was I think bottom shaming also was a big part of it as well. Like in the culture, I think there was at least how I experienced it, bottom shaming as
Yeah.
well. I also had a lot of anxiety and nervousness from not fitting in or job stress and other things. So I believe I had like undiagnosed IBS as well, which got in the way of that stuff as well. So, anyways, there's a
Yeah.
lot that brings bodily awareness. And I thought I go to the gym, I have a six pack, I am, very well. I do well on the apps and Fire Island and Horse Meat Disco, all that. But I really was disconnected from a big part of my body. Like having ass and titties and shoulders and traps and a six pack doesn't necessarily mean you're really attuned to your body.
I
Mhm.
love that. I love that so
Wow.
much. And should we read? Do you want to, Cody, read the advice that we thought was appropriate for Dan?
Sure. So this comes from Reddit, and the redditor goes, "My husband of 8 years officially asked me to normalize having sex with other guys, but claims we are not open. Up until now, they've occasionally had fun in saunas, both separately and together, but they've always went to the function together. So he says now he wants to take the next step and allow." The couple to have sex with other guys on their own at their own homes because they live separately. He wants to know if everybody else considers that a relationship because the person that he's dating does not consider that an open relationship. What do you say to this, Dan?
I the, I think I think how different people understand the same word is fascinating because for me that is an open relationship.
Yeah,
Right.
I think for a
And
lot of
furthermore,
people.
like a parallel example, kind of with this interesting political moment in time, I've also observed like some men who are married to men and have had sex with men throughout their lives not identify as a gay man.
Oh,
And,
I
and some of us
so
would say they're a gay man, and maybe, but it is fascinating, I think, to
that they
your
get to define
original point.
themselves.
Yeah, and I do think the word queer kind of is more loaded here, but I think for
Mhm.
this person, gay might be very charged. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to identify as a gay man anymore because that might hold for this person baggage or weight. I would say to the Reddit writer, to me, what be interested is sitting and unpacking what does an open relationship like mean? What comes up when that word or that label is stated, and then what are that maybe some other words, or maybe you don't want to label anything. I don't know. I'd be interested in sitting with that thing. I think there's something there with like open relationship with that person. Because to me, that's like slam dunk an open relationship.
Yeah.
I thought what they were doing before was an open relationship. So,
Mhm.
and
And
so
then
there's
it's
just levels to
also,
it.
do we get so caught up in terminology, then the person writing in, at the end of the day, is this acceptable to them on this behavior? If we can get past like the labels and
A-
calling it something.
And like within kind of, from what a best practice that I've seen with like polyamorous couples, like relationship agreements and defining things and really proactive communication is really helpful. So maybe there it's like, yeah, let's just throw out kind of what we're hearing from society, open relationship or otherwise. How do we define it? What does it mean for us? What are
I like
what are the
that.
meanings that feel warm to you? Those things.
But
Well, I
really
mean, I'm going to
taking
push
that
back.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to push back a little bit because I feel like calling a thing what it is, there's power in that too.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you 100%. There's probably something wrapped up for him around the term open relationship. So I think exploring why he is so reluctant to call it an open relationship, there's power and value in that as well. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for the pushback. I like that.
It's my
Cody's all
job.
we can push
No,
back.
good.
Oh my God. Dan,
That's why they give me the big bucks.
amazing. We have to have you back on the show.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
so you are available for, you have clients. How should people follow you? Where should we direct people to?
Oh, that's helpful. Thanks a ton. I will, I would say Instagram. I have not yet put my like Psychology Today link on my
Yeah.
Instagram, but I feel empowered. There's someone that I follow that does that, and they also write on sex, and they've done OnlyFans and adult videoing and all that. I'm like, let me just put all that stuff, together. Um, and in addition to therapy, I already can see myself doing like, you know, other coaching and other services. Because, like you said, I'm a therapist in training, and I could really only work in a certain segment within California. And I really want to
Hmm.
be open to a lot of my New York network and other things. So, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, DWerner3. And I think, and maybe on your end, when you put this up, you
We
could
will
put
put
my
it in show
handle as
notes.
well. Yeah,
Absolutely. Dan,
Fabulous.
thank you so much. It was
yeah, no,
so
Thank you
thank you
so
very
too.
much.
enlightening, and I love your story. It was such an amazing story, and how you turned like the pandemic and so many of your life into something really engaging, and really, I'm very impressed with it. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for the
absolutely.
invite. I had a lot of fun talking to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
coming in.
Okay. We
Yeah,
hope
you're
to
welcome.
talk to you soon. Take
All
care
right.
now.
Thank you.
Oh my God, so good, right, Cody?
Yes,
As
fantastic. I
always,
learned
I
so
love
much.
it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, well, it is time to move into hot topics, and there are a lot of them. When Cody, while you were away, Teddy and I were talking about a brand new potential 10,000 square foot world class bathhouse that may or may not open here in New York City, when state lawmakers are getting rid of an AIDS era restrictive that said no more bathhouses during the AIDS epidemic. And it's been so all these years later. Well, now there's a push to get this back up and running. And there are potential, some vibes going out there that says there could be a 10,000 square foot world class bathhouse coming our way, which is very exciting. Well, with
Yeah.
that news, to get you up
Yes,
to
it is.
speed, a
Yes, thank you.
recent gay bathhouse worker was dishing on all the unexpected reasons why he absolutely loves his job. Here's what he said. Here's what people responded to. I've seen couples meet, execs be in the same space and not fight or have a screaming match, older men who have just come out, and younger men doing the same journey. Yeah, sure. As a worker, the eye candy is there, but there are levels of sweetness. I don't think most people who judge from the outside or surface level judgment because they cannot see this place as just a sexual space. And he went on to offer this example. He said, this older man checks in every day. He met his husband here 30 years ago, and his partner passed away just a year ago. He told me he doesn't really come here to have sex. He just feels close to his husband here, and it makes him feel good knowing that younger queer men still have this space. There was a lot of other things on why he loves this job, including the that it's a place for people to come and, yes, connect on various levels that they maybe can't connect. Somebody also offered an example of big cities. We live in tiny spaces, and we really have to get out there and connect, and the bathhouse is one of those spaces. What did you think about a potential 10,000 square foot bathhouse coming our way, ending an age old AIDS era stipulation, and now what this one employee is saying about working in a bathhouse?
Yeah, that it's great. It sounds amazing, and also sounds like I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble there. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and I know that the bathhouse has been such an integral part of the gay community for so long.
Yeah.
Uh, this man met his husband there. It's been a communal space for so many men out there where they couldn't express themselves freely in other spaces. So I'm happy this is coming back. The laws are completely antiquated, and I can't wait to see how this evolves.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about on the show, we talked with Lincoln recently about there's this deficit of people, men in particular, mostly straight men, but also within our own community too, of not getting off the apps and not connecting anymore. I don't think big cities have that problem. I think we really do get out there, but in parts of the world, people don't have a lot of places to connect. And this is one more place that you could connect with people in real time off of an app, off of just being by yourself. And if it's sexual in nature, I think it's only positive and I'm here for it. And I think we need to get over. I say that all the time in Europe, there are so many spaces like this that celebrate sex positivity. And we need to get
Yes.
back to that time post 30, 40 years later of AIDS epidemic to really kind of celebrate these spaces. And I would even go as far to say that dare we bring back, remember when Bette Midler used to perform in these
Yeah.
spaces with Barry Manilow as her
Let's
accompanist,
bring back Beck.
and maybe you could be performing in some of these,
Hey.
and we, there could be all kinds of entertainment in these kinds of spaces that I think, what a refreshing new way to interpret it in a new era.
I love it. I could have a penis while watching a penis and seeing a
There you
penis.
go. Yeah, I'm excited for this. Let's see where this goes. We will report back if this 10,000 square foot place opens up here in New York. We will be the first to report on it. But recently, 1 million moms, it's an organizations, were losing it over a prep ad that featured the one and only Michelle Visage of none other than RuPaul's Drag Race. Conservative campaign group 1 million moms made a name for itself complaining about adverts that believes are pushing a quote unquote woke or pro LGBTQ issues. Well, the latest had to do with Michelle Visage. She was promoting Viv Healthcare for its Prep Wisdom campaign. And it shows her talking about the importance of people that have sex with other men to
Mhm.
get on PrEP. And it's a very good campaign. The newest Prep Wisdom commercials, they said, are inappropriate for obvious reasons, especially when airing before prime time when children are still awake and likely watching television. These particular commercials, said a million moms, are airing earlier and earlier in the day, as early as 4 p.m. to be exact in some areas. When this type of commercial airs early in the evening, family viewing time is ruined. Can you imagine what goes through the mind of a child, tween, teen when seeing this ad? A parent never expects to discuss sexuality or homosexuality while sitting at home enjoying family time. Well, I would push back right there. That's the problem. We're
Yep.
not talking about sex. We're not talking about any sex. There was a recent study that said no gay men ever or even today get any kind of sex ed to at all. Like it's avoidance at all of any kind of sexuality training for gay men, lesbians, forget transgender. I mean, and if you're not getting any of that, if you're not able to talk about these things, we see every health problem on any, when you turn on the news, every health concern is represented. This is simply keeping people safe. I think tweens, teens at 4 o'clock, if they should be already like doing their homework or playing a sport in my mind, but if they are watching it, it's not too early to be discussing the importance of a drug that can save a certain population. And if your child happens to be of that persuasion, you are now doing them a major service. What do you say to this?
I agree with you 100%. I think these people are willfully ignorant, and I think
Yeah.
that they are just afraid to have these conversations with their kids. That's why their kids grow up to do the things that they do, to not protect themselves. Do you think Lauren Boberts discussed these
Oh,
types of things with her kids? And
she
maybe if
apparently
she had these
didn't.
conversations, then he wouldn't be in the situation that he's in right now.
You're
Because
referring to
hello,
her son, who is recently a 21-year-old son who was
arrested
arrested.
on child sexual exploitation charges.
Yeah, when she's gone
So
on and on about our community and all,
exactly.
yeah,
So, yeah,
and
it's just a
and
little
saying
slice of
and saying that we are groomers as
oh,
LGBT, when her own
exactly.
son, who's 21, was arrested just recently for doing the same thing for underage. So,
Yep.
wow, look in the mirror, Lauren.
Thank you. So, yeah, maybe if she had these types of discussions and they would be able to avoid things like this.
Yeah. Crazy. Staying on RuPaul because we love RuPaul's Drag Race, and this isn't RuPaul, but Monet Exchange, and we love Monet, was recently commenting on teaching the art of gay cruising in a new video. I watched this video. It was so great. It's very simple, actually. After you Did you watch this video?
I did. It was great.
So
It taught me some
best
things too.
best gym cruising tips. Typically, you're sitting at a bench and you're making eye contact in the mirror. Monet explained, if the eye contact happens more than 3 times, they're cruising you. It's a cruise. After you've made eye contact repeatedly, she went on to say that you can act like you're on your phone and say you're going to the bathroom. And if they follow you, it's a wrap. Find a bathroom stall or shower stall and you make it do what it do, she advised. She reiterated that golden rule of cruising is getting that eye contact 3 times. If it's less than 3 times, don't do it. You're going to get arrested. So make sure you make eye contact at least 3 times. And then I loved her sassy ending remark. I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. What did you think of this advice? And pretty spot on.
Really? I think my gym cruising days are over. I have never done the look 3 times rule, and I think that normally I just am at gay gyms and I just go hook up with anybody in the stall, but not anymore. I am not on that. I just go into the gym and just run back out again. But these I feel like these tips and tricks are very going to help somebody else out there in the world, and who better to learn them from than Mona Exchange, right?
Yeah, I like them. I like the 3 look rule. I think I agree with you. The gyms these days are, you got to be kind of careful in them,
Yeah.
where they're on hyper alert of our community and all that old school way of cruising. But while you may not need to run to the bathroom stall, a 3 look rule could be beneficial in maybe going up to them and introducing yourself. And then you
Yes.
could go to somebody's bathroom stall in another part of, go to your house, go to my house, that kind of thing.
And
So
go
I
to the
do like
stall?
that.
No, no, no.
Or just go to their bathroom or go to
Yeah.
their house. And I think
Yes.
that could be a good thing. By the way, on the last topic, Doug, because we are live, says, I bet they aren't complaining about all the Viagra commercials on with straight couples. Yeah. Has anyone done a study on when those ads come on and they're sexual in nature? And do we have problems with those? This is a drug that's actually keeping people safe.
Yes.
Viagra is extracurricular and helping people with
Erectile
ED
dysfunction. Yeah.
issues, but I do think that one of them is saving lives, and we shouldn't. If it's 4 o'clock, I mean, that's evening for me, and I
Yeah.
don't think there's a problem with that.
We're
So
not eating dinner, but it's still
yeah,
afternoon, so we're doing good. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think they were ever mad at her though, right? At
I think they're kinda
and
mad at Michelle Visage too, because why is she advocating for this? But I don't think in any of the advertisements she says gay. I don't think she says trans at all. I just think that this is for people to protect themselves, like you said. So I don't understand what all the hubbub is for, because why are people afraid of protecting themselves?
we wanted to do a follow up on a story when we were talking about Castro, the infamous Castro gay area in San Francisco, when they had AI surveillance cameras in many of its bars, many of the most famous bars, including Badlands and Toad Hall, 2 prominent bars in San Francisco's gay Castro district, have stopped their use of patron scan, which was an ID verification and facial scanning system. If you remember, we talked about this a couple months ago. Do you remember, Cody,
I
on
do,
how
yeah.
San Francisco was really putting these into bars where the minute you walked in, you were scanned, and no one really knew where that information went, who was using it. They mentioned at the time, I remember in the original piece, that they were using it to kind of compare with other bars to see if there was somebody that had a record on them that then it would be shared with this other bar, and it was all in this one system. But that wasn't really reported as true or not, and it just
Okay.
seemed like they were taking information for you, and where was all that information going,
And what
particularly
was it
for
being
our
utilized for?
community, and how was
Yeah.
it being utilized? Well, here's what they wrote: "We have heard the concerns regarding the use of patron scan at Badlands and Toad Hall in San Francisco, and we are listening." Brian Aranda, the director of operations at both bars, said it in a statement obtained by the Gazetteer San Francisco. "Effective immediately, we are pausing the use of patron scan while we review our ID verification and security practices. Our security teams will continue to thoroughly check IDs manually during this time. And then we appreciate everyone who has shared their concerns and remain committed to providing a safe and welcoming environment." But this was all because certain groups came and pushed back. Fight for the Future is an organization that really pushed back successfully, Kodi.
Yeah.
And to get some of these, what did you think about, well, the original story, but then how their work stopped, at least paused it for the moment?
Yeah, I'm glad that the bars are really listening to the community and kind of amending their ways, because I don't. It seems kind of unnecessary if they weren't able to share the information between the bars about possible uh, people that could be a problem. Then I don't understand what they were collecting all this data for. So I'm glad they stopped it. Hopefully they get the kinks worked out, because that does sound like something that if a bar can identify people that have had issues in other bars before, I think that it could actually be pretty useful. But until they can get that working, why are they collecting all this data? So definitely.
I don't mind cameras. We're used to cameras being everywhere at individual bars, but it was a
Hmm.
particular software that then, as we said, shared it. But who knows where it went? I don't like
And what
that
for?
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how long are they keeping it for too? And what are they ultimately using it for? Are they going to sell it? But every bar business, I feel, has the right, especially in this day and age, we expect it to have their own surveillance cameras for their own uses to monitor. The bars we go to, the one here in New York, Eagle, has stopped crimes happening by use of camera and put an end to it right then and there, and not allowed that particular patron to come back in. It wasn't shared, it was simply for their own purposes. And I think that is legitimate. It saved lives, it saved perpetrators from repeating crimes. And I think all of that is useful, and every business has the right to do that. I mean, you can't go anywhere now without being filmed. It's this
Yeah.
particular one, patron scan, that was ultimately sharing it with other bars, and no one really knew where all of that information was ultimately going and how it was being utilized. And I love the pause, and I love the pushback that it got. And I mean, don't mess with San Francisco, because
Yeah.
they
Oh, they
are,
they got it
yeah.
all together.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, we have time for one more. Did you have one more that you wanted to do, Kodi,
Let's see.
before we
Did you
move
want to
on
do
to?
some advice? Oh
Let's
no,
do it.
you want to.
Yeah, let's.
Uh,
I think we should go on to advice. Yes.
okay, sounds good.
This was interesting because when older gay guys were debating whether to feel guilty about hooking up with much younger men, it was a topic that started a whole debate. Started with a Reddit. A man on Reddit reported recently turning 40 and entering his daddy phase. His words. He received plenty of interest on the apps. The only problem is he was feeling a little guilty when he responds to younger guys seeking fun. Quote unquote, I'm decent. I'm a decent looking guy who's never had trouble dating or hooking up. I'm also someone who, for the most part, likes to date and hook up with guys in comparable age range. My general rule has always been it's cool to play with younger guys under, say, 30 if they contact me, but I'm not usually reaching out to them partially out of preference. Like for dating, I want a guy in the same life stage, and partially because I don't want to be that creepy gay only going after young guys because I judge that guy. Anyway, this year was the big 4-0, which also coincided with me probably being in the best shape I've ever been in. I'm truly never gotten more attention, particularly from the early 20 guys who are in their daddy phase. I give a firm no to anyone under 21, but am feeling conflicted about the 22, 24 crowd knocking on my door. On the one hand, I feel I should take advantage of a bunch of hot 23-year-olds who want to willingly fuck me, but I can't help feeling kind of weird or kind of like a cliche. Am I being over dramatic, overthinking things? I don't think over dramatic for me is the word. I think no, you're cut off. And if you want to have fun and they are legal, you should be able to have your fun. Who cares?
Yeah.
I do think you are overthinking of it if you put everybody in that box that they're in their daddy phase. What if they just liked you? And I think enjoy it, but have your boundaries. If 25 and under is too young for you for dating, I think that's fair enough. Put that in your profile and kind of have a soft, firm rule on that. But don't write everybody off because, as we've just learned, gay men are of a we're so multifaceted and we age at different levels. So, but I don't think it's wrong to not want to date somebody at a particular age or under. What advice would you give?
Definitely. I definitely he should have his boundaries for sure, but I don't think that a hard and fast rule is the way to go because you never know what you could get out of somebody that's in their 20s. As long as everybody's of age and consenting, I think that it's all fair game. The maturity is all that matters and the level of attraction. So if you're both attracted to each other and you're both able to have good conversation and all the needs are being met on both sides, I think it's totally fine to go to date at any age. Age is just a number at the end of the day. Yeah, but a lot of people in the comments were saying this is the opportunity for him to actually be a good example because he is more mature than these other 20-year-olds. For him to be a good example of what a good like dynamic could be between two gay men. So I think roll with that. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, then definitely be kind and concise and let people know where you're standing as far as the relationship is going.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add to it too is somebody in their 40s, we were just talking about it on the last episode. If you're taking care of yourself as a gay man and you're working out and you're feeling the best of your life, a 40-year-old who's doing all of that can appear like a 30-year-old. So it wouldn't, I mean, really, if you're taking care of yourself, I mean, I'm 55, but I don't feel that I look 55. I don't
Nope.
feel like, if you were just to do a comparison analysis with maybe some of our straight counterparts and what 55 used to look like, what 40 used to look like,
It's
it's
night and
not the
day.
same. And then you
It's
factor
J
in gay
Lo and
men that
Golden
are really
Girls.
like, I mean, we can keep up with them. So I wouldn't put that. I would really check in with where am I at my maturity level right now, and
Exactly.
I would just it is overthinking it a little bit too much because 40 today as a gay man who's taking care of themselves is looking like a late 20-year-old's early 30s,
Mhm.
and you could be, I bet if you went out with that person you might almost look the same age. So come on, if you're trying to be serious
I've
and
done
they're
it
not
before.
mature as you are, I then put those guardrails up on, you know what, I want somebody closer to my experience in life, and that's fair enough. But for fun, have as much fun as you want, child. You
I was
probably
gonna
look the
say
same
something dirty.
age.
You better
Well,
use
we
that
don't have
20-year-old
enough
old hole.
time. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much fun. We want to thank our special guest, Dan Werner, and we will put all of where you can follow on show notes, his Instagram. And you can follow my co host, Kodi, on Instagram and Blue Sky at Mr. Maurice and Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. And my Substack, I really want to promote it really quickly because there's a hot gay summer deal. I just wrote an article on that where you can get 20% off for my paid subscription models. You can get the free one though, too. And I really encourage you to go over there because I take a lot of what we're discussing and I relate it to not just my life, but to an overall perspective that I don't always have time to do on here. And you can follow me at the Naked Truth Steve, at the Naked Truth Steve on Substack. And because we're celebrating Hot Gay Summer, all the rest of this month, you can get 20% off. So take advantage
Word.
of it. I will link it up. It's really been a lot of fun writing these posts, free and paid, all of them. Just check it out at the Naked Truth Steve. And in the meantime, continue having hot
Hot gay
gay
sex.
sex. Lovely. Thank you, guys.